All right, welcome Senior Home Business family. Welcome to the YouTube channel today on a Wednesday. Brittany just hopped in her car from a meeting. I'm sitting in my office working like a dog. I think we all work like a dog and do whatever we do, right? But we're going to talk to you today about assisted living like we always do. Today, we're going to kind of focus a little bit on just assisted living complaints. Now, we've been kind of just kind of freestyling it, right, Brittany, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, just getting on here talking. And we want to continue that theme today, but we just kind of want to bring some context maybe to our conversation about there are some real complaints that are out there, and we'd like to address those complaints. And so we've got some people that are going to be waiting to hop online. If you want to join the students or some people in school, we actually sent a link out. You can join the show, or you can just simply just hop on, do what you're doing now and watch. If you don't want to join, you can put something in the comments section in the chat, and we'll get back to you on those different questions and statements. But if you want to know more about what we do in the senior placement business, you can drop down, click the link, and schedule a consultation call with us. We'd love to talk to you about it. And there's some other resources down below, or some connections with us. You can connect down below. But Brittany, let's get into it a little bit. Do you ever hear about any complaints? I mean, is it all like hunky-dory, bed of roses when you transition to assisted living? I mean, it's just nothing ever goes wrong, right?
No, I would say every day. I know that sounds,
Right.
mind you, this is what we do all day, every day. So do I think that there's a ton of positive? Yes, as we talk about. Obviously, I always say nothing's perfect, right? So yes, there's a lot of complaints, and I know I'm sure we'll get into it, but the variables that go into that and all the different sides of it. But yes, I hear assisted living complaints daily from my clients, myself, from even people in my personal life. I would say yes.
Oh man, it's just full of complaints, because it is we talk about a lot of times, it's a very traumatic situation, right? A lot of the people that I help and assist, they're just caught off guard. Not they're caught off guard because mom's not 85 years old. They're not caught off guard because they didn't see any signs of decline in mom. It's just something. It's just all of a sudden mom falls, goes to hospital, skilled nursing, and now they're in this whirlwind of what to do. And so they're immediately faced with reality versus speculation, and no one knows the hour and the day that we get here on earth, and we all hope to live a long, long time. We just don't know. And so I don't know about you, but my mom and dad in their mid 70s, and I have thought a little bit about assisted living lately because I've told the story on this channel before where my dad went to assisted living about a year and a half. It seems like almost 2 years ago now, but at least a year and a half ago. So it brought awareness that, hey, it might be getting time at some point that mom or dad might need assisted living. But up to that point, I'm in the business, and I don't think I thought 1 second about my mom and dad needing assisted living, because they're very much independent. They were flying out here to California. They were, driving their car, doing just everyday normal kind of stuff, until that fall happened when dad went to skilled nursing and he had to get his knee replaced. And then he fell again and had to go back and get it replaced again, all that stuff. So it's just the things that happen. It's just all of a sudden. So John is on, I think down below, we're going to put John on in just a second. So John, if you don't get ready, it'd be great. We'd love to have your question or your statement to us. But Brittany, what's your number one complaint, or just the first thing, maybe it's not number one, but the first thing that comes to your mind about complaints that you hear most often?
That's a hard one. So probably the number one complaint that I get usually happens during the transition, just to kind of give some insight, is like communication and the transition in general. I think a lot of it has to do with, like you mentioned, the reality of the situation. A lot of times they're fast moves. It's something that nobody was planning for. So I think a lot of the complaints come from just unrealistic expectations combined with communication and just the entire process. And that's like a long-winded answer, but I really think a lot of the complaints that I get, and we can get into this if you'd like, just kind of like the expectations. This is their first time going through this. This happened maybe in the matter of 21 days. They fell, they went to, the hospital, they went to rehab. So this is all just a whirlwind, plus they don't know what's ahead of them. So the complaints all kind of revolve around that. But the number one complaint, communication, transition in general, care. I could go on and on, but yeah, there's a lot of complaints.
Yeah, I think of one off the top of my head. Actually, I think of several. I'll just say one is food. Now, we do have some communities out there, you guys, that offer an abundance of selection of food, like a menu. There's, again, what we say repeatedly on this channel, not every community is the same. And so this is one area as well. But I've had complaints of someone going to a community and they always get a cold sandwich for lunch. And doesn't mean that's kind of bad, getting a cold sandwich. Sometimes I like a cold sandwich. But if you get a cold sandwich every day for lunch, it can kind of wear on you, especially if you're a senior or a person that's used to maybe you're a really good cook back in the day. You're just used to a certain kind of style of menu, food throughout the day. And then you just get a cold sandwich. And I get that complaint sometimes. And then I'm able to maybe address it with the community, and it, not in a bad way, but gives them an opportunity to improve. Right? We're no one's perfect. We're just trying to improve. And the good thing about it, if you're in the business out there, you guys, communities appreciate feedback. Now, given in the right way. Don't go in there and and act like, oh my gosh, you're not taking care of the senior, and you're just giving them. Just have a conversation, a normal conversation. But they love feedback so they can improve. Right? They want the experience overall for the senior to be positive. They want the good reviews. They want people to move into their communities. It's not like they're trying to keep people away. They want people in their community, so whatever they can do to improve. So that's one area. But I want to let John on. John is here on the channel. John, introduce yourself. Where are you from? You're on with Brittany and Matt. How can we help you?
Howdy. John Hines here, Birmingham, Alabama. Joined your community a few months ago. Love it. Great teaching. Using it to help me fill my own community as well as network, because I don't live in where my homes are.
Thanks for the positive report, John. We'll give you $20 in just a second. I'm just kidding. It's on the way. I think Brittany just Venmo'd it to you.
On your subject, the number one complaint is food. Now, we don't do cold sandwiches very often, sometimes at night. But, it's hard to please everybody. You got one lady that swears you can't serve grits without cheese in it. Another lady says there's not enough butter in the cornbread. Can you tell we live in the South? One says it has no flavor, and another table. It also seems to go by tables with food. Everybody's happy or nobody's happy. So it's hard to please everybody. I have to shout out to my cooks. They do a great job of trying to tailor when they know one lady likes her eggs really runny.
Yeah.
They'll cook her separate from a larger batch or something. But some of the medicine can definitely affect people's tastes when it comes to food. Other complaints I hear, because I only visit about once a week, is your caregivers work too hard, or your administrator works too hard. She needs more help. Mm-hmm. And I try to give her all the resources she needs to perform. She says she's doing fine. But other complaints, I've had mix up of mail. When I come down, I think they're just happy to see me and hear me call bingo and socialize with them a little while.
Right.
They probably direct their complaints more to the administrator than me. But,
yeah. Have you ever had that senior? And again, guys, we all love seniors, but how many know that not everyone has the same personality type, right? You're always going to have that one that kind of just rocks the boat, right? And I remember John and Brittany, I used to work for this assisted living community before I got in this business years ago. And there was this one lady, and I thought she was a sweetheart of a lady, especially when you got talking to her one-on-one. But evidently, when she was away from me or others one-on-one and got around the seniors, man, she was always complaining about everything, right? She was just the kind of person that would just stir up the pot, man. She would just like get things going. And it got so bad that when we started giving tours and she was around, she started being a little more outspoken and started to verbalize her complaints to prospects, to people we were touring. It got to the point where we actually started scheduling tours when she was in a room, because it was just that bad. It was like, oh my gosh. Do you have anybody like that, John, in your community?
Yeah, definitely. I have two in one building and one in the other. And they're the gossip girls. They're the ones that love gossip. They go to everybody's room and be their best friend, try to find out some dirt and go and spread it. It almost always originates with one of them. And another thing that did come up about a complaint is animals. We allow dogs in our buildings,
Yeah.
and there's one lady that will be a little nonchalant about keeping her dog restrained or when she brings it out. And some people don't appreciate that. So.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of just restrictions on pets? Like I hear a lot in the communities out here that, in order to have a pet, number one, the pet has to be friendly, right? Pet has got to be friendly. The pet's got to have its shots. And also typically, with a couple of exceptions I've had, the resident typically has to take care of the pet. Is that pretty much true in your community?
100%. The main thing is the resident has to be able to take care of the animal. Yeah.
Yeah. I had one exception. It was in a care home, and the care home went beyond the call of duty because the resident was 290 pounds, bedridden, needed a Hoyer, and the dog just absolutely loved him. And of course, he loved the dog. It was a medium-sized dog. I'd 40, 50 pounds, something like that. Very friendly, had his shots. And the caregivers just went the extra mile and let the dog out and fed the dog. It didn't require a whole lot because of where his room was at. He had an outside entrance, but that was kind of the only exception I can think of. I think there was another one, but typically the resident needs to take care of their pets. And that goes without saying. I mean, caregivers do a lot as it is. You're adding another task to their schedule. I mean, let the dog out. I mean,
yeah, you're exactly right. Outside of when they're sick, they have to take care of it. And all of our dogs, we're lucky, are kind of small too.
And that'd be hard because I was letting my dog out at 2:30 in the morning today. I mean, no caregiver wants to do that, right?
No caregiver wants to pick up poop either.
Absolutely. Hey, let's let Gail on. Gail's on here in the house. What's up, Gail? How are you doing?
I'm sicker than a dog, but other than that,
Hey.
I know, right? I was supposed to be bumming around doing networking, and I'm just like, I got this cold. I don't have COVID. I checked it out, but I've got this stupid cold. But anyway, I'm getting work, which is really awesome.
Nice.
But I just got a call from somebody that wait a minute. Is there a subject matter I need to be sticking to?
Oh, go ahead. We're talking about assisted living complaints, but whatever's on your mind. Let's fire away.
Well, I have questions about that too, but so no, I just got a call from a woman whose husband had a stroke. Long story short, it's been months and months and months. He's got a horrible wound now, and it's like, I won't get into the details, but it's not good. And he's in the hospital, back to where the wound started, and now no one will take him. Of course, this isn't something I'm going to get paid for, but I'm like, I don't know where to start. So I just was going to reach out to some people that I know do wound care. But can you have a mobile wound care unit come in to the hospital? Would insurance pay for that?
Brittany, take that one.
I can answer the question. So I have the same exact situation almost, kind of. I've got a client I'm actually at the rehab right now that I'm trying to get him into because, again, no rehab will take him out of the hospital. So what we are doing here, I don't know if every state's different. We are getting a mobile, wound, basically doctor and staff to come into this rehab on top of their wound care. So I don't know if it's different everywhere, but I just literally left the meeting doing that same exact thing.
But is insurance going to cover that for them? Okay.
Yes. So what they're doing here, they're going to have Medicare cover the mobile wound doctor, and they are going to not do quote unquote wound care here. They're going to do like preventative care, just kind of keep up with it, make sure it's clean, but they're not doing the full dressing. They're just going to make sure they're clean when that wound doctor is not here. Okay. He's got 7 stage 4 wounds. So he has a lot going on. So yeah, so we're, that's what we're doing for him. So he's going in skilled rehab with basically outside third-party wound care. They do have wound care here. They are not providing the wound care. They are going to do preventative care, and then they are going to have this mobile wound doctor come in 5 days a week, and then goal is to figure out placement after. Hopefully he gets better.
So he is not in a rehab right now. No rehab will take him.
He's at the hospital, right? No rehab would take him, but I got this one to take him with those exceptions.
Right. So
is that patient, are they diabetic?
Yes.
Yep, same. So that's exactly what happened. That's why they didn't want to accept him, because I just learned all this, that the reason they don't want to accept him is because he's diabetic. So the odds of them healing are a lot less. So that is why everyone is being so picky.
Yeah, that was undiagnosed. They didn't find out until he came in after his stroke. This guy is 57 years old.
Oh, no.
They're just out of the blue, So, and they've been, that started April 28th. And he's been everywhere in all places. And so at a hospital, they'll allow wound care to come in? That's what I'm asking.
Are they, so...
Yep, he's got his hand up.
Depends on the state.
Yeah, I was going to say it depends on the state. I mean, are they not trying to get him to acute rehab? Are they not?
He wasn't acute, and now he's back in the hospital. I don't know. I mean, his tailbone is sticking out and it's black.
That's sad.
Yeah, so the hospital's saying they cannot provide the wound care?
They're saying they've done what is that called, debridement? Mm-hmm. They've done that twice, and now they're saying and they stopped the wound vac, and now they just have him, off of pressure and nutrition. They said that's all they can do.
So did they call? I just want to, one more question. Just want to make sure I've got this right. Are they calling you to help discharge him out of the hospital?
She just got my name, and she just wants help because they've been to 3-4 different places and now back in the hospital, and she doesn't trust the hospital. It's one of our better hospitals, but that's where the wound started. And then I don't know, the place that they were hoping for, now they won't hold anybody. They've got private insurance because they're 57 years old, and they would only hold a bed for Medicare people. So they lost it.
And that was a rehab, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can try to see, like John said, I think it depends on the state. I would try to see, because if they're trying to discharge him, they're probably wanting to know if wound care will come into, the other places, right? Because the hospital probably won't hang on to him much longer. They really don't. So, I mean, I would try to find out if you can find a rehab that's, has a good reputation that would allow the wound care doctor to come in if that's the reason they're denying. Does that make sense? So the family called you, correct? Not the social worker?
The family called me, yeah.
Here would be my suggestion. I would call the social worker and find out what their plan is first, and then try to help that social worker with the wound situation.
They don't have a plan.
That's what the social worker told you?
That's what the wife told me, that they said yesterday, what's your plan? And it's nutrition and keeping, the pressure off of it. That's their plan.
So are they thinking hospice? I mean, has that came up at all?
Has not come up.
Yeah, that would be my take. If the wife lets you call the hospital, I would call the hospital. Find out, because sometimes like their verbiage is going to go over, people's head. I would just find out, because they're not just going to let him hang out in the hospital, unfortunately, without like a, treatment plan. And if they're ready to kind of discharge, it sounds like they were looking at discharge to some degree. So I would call the social worker.
It's the wife that wants him out of there because he's declining. So
yeah,
the only place that will take him is disgusting.
And that's probably not going to. I wish I could give you advice. You probably don't. I'm going to assume the social worker sent out referrals everywhere. I'm just going to assume that. So I wish I had a solution for you, but.
All right. So I'll just find out if in the hospital, if you can start wound care in this state, separate then, and then reach out to the people that I know. And there's one place, I'm going to find out more. I won't get into it, but just reach out to the people that I know, because they're in an area that I don't even really work in.
Yeah.
So, she's asking me about these rehabs and skilled, and I don't know, but I know people that do know. When I was working for Care Patrol, they work on that side of town. So I just was wondering, my question was, can they have wound care mobile come into the hospital to try to get this, better?
They might, but just my question would be, if you do that work, I'm just giving you a heads up, make sure they're not going to discharge him, because I don't want you to do all that work to find out, because the hospital won't hang on to him, most likely. So what I would find out, like, definitely get that answer so you have it. That's why I'm saying I would probably talk to the social worker, because you might spend, forever trying to find it out, and then they say, hey, he has to be discharged. That's the only reason I was saying that. If she lets you talk to them, I 100% would. because that way you can find out, like, hey, are they thinking they can keep them for 5 days? Okay, that might be worth having somebody come in, a wound care doctor. If they're just going to discharge him to the, not so great place, then, but it's good for you to know that answer. I just wouldn't spend, because in my experience, 5 hours at a hospital is like 5 days. Like, they are ready. They are, like, I literally, as we're talking right now, mind you, the family just got there yesterday to the hospital. The lady's texting me. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know what happened. The lady's texting me saying, have you heard from the family yet? I got the referral at 5 o'clock yesterday. Like, they just.
Well, he's been there for five weeks at the hospital.
Yeah, they're probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's really sad. But if they're talking, can you guys see me?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I don't know. I can't see myself. Weird. Anyway. So anyway. Okay. Yeah, that's what I would do. But that, I mean, Matt, to kind of rope it back in, she did mention complaints, right? It's not a skilled nursing or, assisted living or memory care, but, they're having issues with the hospital. So as placement agents, we run into complaints even at hospital level, even at rehab level. That's not what we're necessarily doing. I mean, we're here to support the families, but that's not the main thing that we do.
Yeah. And hear what Gail said too. You said Gail is one of the better hospitals, right? So it really kind of comes down to someone's experience, right? It's kind of like when we talk to people, I could say one thing thinking everything went well, but if I didn't make that person feel good about the conversation, they probably got a negative opinion about me. Same with a good hospital. If you have a negative experience, that's the experience you're going to take with you. And that's probably the conversations you're going to have with others when you refer to that hospital. Go, man, that hospital, oh my gosh, the hospital is terrible. And it's actually, what Gail says, probably one of the better hospitals in the area.
It's a teaching hospital. It's
wow.
it's one of the best hospitals. But to your point on that, I had a family in a community. They loved it. Their dad didn't last that long, unfortunately. And so I had lunch with the family, and then they said, you know what? We have a friend who has their mom there, and they do not like it at all.
Yeah.
So it's so hard. It just depends on who they connect with, who works there. And
hey, we got a question here, Brittany, from the Smart Real Estate Investor Club of America. Don't know who that is, but hey, that's all right. If he's declining, then hospice would be available, right?
Yeah. You're asking me? You said Brittany. Do you want me to answer? Yeah. So, I mean, hospice kit, you have to qualify. I'm not a doctor or a hospice admissions person, Gail, based on your description. I think hospice could come into play here, just given his conditions and his diagnosis. A lot of it comes down to, does the family want to, make that decision to move forward with hospice? He's 57 years old. I don't want to speak for this family. I don't know if they're ready yet. Some families jump on board with hospice very early, which is totally fine. Maybe some jump on hospice very end of life if that's what it's coming to. I don't know, though. I'm just answering from my hospice experience how much hospice would do that wound care. That would be my thing. I don't know what they would do for that, because in my experience, if that is what somebody was technically, that's their terminal diagnosis, they would not treat those wounds.
Absolutely. Well, that question came from Scott. Sorry, Scott, I didn't recognize the Smart Real Estate Investor of a Club of America, but man, I'm glad it was you, Scott. That's cool. Hey, let's get to another complaint. Hey, John, have you ever had any complaints from residents or families about any kind of roommate, if they're a shared situation, or just a neighbor conflict? Somebody living too close, a next apartment, they play their TV too loud, they're rude, whatever it may be. You ever any complaints about that, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, and we address it. We don't have any shared rooms. We could, and I guess we do for a couple of couples. But we did have a lady that loved to watch her TV late into the night at full volume. And only one person complained, her neighbor, who was hard of hearing, so it didn't bother her a lot. And as soon as she moved out, we opened up her wall, had insulation poured in there, and the caregivers that checked in at night said they could instantly see a big difference. We had an air conditioner squealing once that it was just making the fan was making a little bit of noise, and had to address that. The old man couldn't hear it, but the family complained about it, so we went ahead, replaced it, so even though it was functioning. So yeah, of course, you just got to get on the complaints as soon as possible if they're relevant. Sometimes people just need to be listened to or
Absolutely.
consoled a little bit. Squabbles amongst people. We have a northern lady who don't like very much because she's very direct, but
Yeah.
So she keeps to herself.
Yeah, and that's some good things, you guys, families out there or senior placement advisors, and we need to kind of monitor those situations, and that's the importance of being a local placement agent, right? You're going to follow up with families, you're going to hear complaints, and again, John, I think you would appreciate this, being a community owner, is that when we hear these complaints, again, what I said earlier, don't go to the community guns ablaze, ready just to have an argument about whatever happened and be defensive. Just be open-minded. Ask the family, is it okay or ask them. What I typically do is when I hear a complaint from a family, I always ask them, what would they like for me to do? What I can do, I give them a possible solution. What I can do, family, is I can reach out to the community. Is that something you would like for me to do? I've had some families tell me, no, that's not a good idea. They're concerned that resident so-and-so might be, tagged as a complainer, and they're concerned about the overall care. There's a lot of things that go through their head on that situation. But I've had some go, yeah, that'd be great, man. I appreciate it if you could. If they give me permission, then I move forward. But the moving forward, again, is not being defensive, not being argumentative, just having a conversation, and just letting them know about, like, I'll give you an example. I had this resident, had a TV on the wall. Something was malfunctioning. I don't know if it was electrical, if it was the TV, or whatever it may be. I mean, I guess that's one and the same, but I don't know if it was the actual outlet or the TV. And maintenance was going to go by and take care of that. Well, like a week and a half later, it still was not taken care of. And the family reached out to me again, like, Matt, Dad loves watching TV. And I understand the maintenance guy is on vacation or he's out sick or whatever it may be, but is there someone else in the building that can help Dad out? So there's got to be this level of importance on the community. And I know, John, you would do a great job with this. It's just once the move-in occurs, that doesn't end there. And the same with placement agents. When the move-in occurs, it doesn't end there. It does with national companies typically, I would think, right? But with locals, if you are a local placement agent, please do not stop there. Now, don't circle back around and see if you can remove them. Don't do something like that to get paid again so you can move them, but just genuinely out of concern, asking how things are doing. Just simple follow-up. That's all it is. And then treat it as such. If you do get complaints, ask them permission and treat that as an opportunity to speak with the community. I love those opportunities. I can't think of any situation where I approached the community in that manner and they got defensive. No, I take that back. There was one. There was a small care home. I'm sorry. There was a small care home. I've said this before on video, and I have yet to read it. I need it. It's over in that file cabinet. It wouldn't take long to pull that thing out. But I had this family that gave me a list of complaints, and the complaints was at least 20 or more, right? And they gave me permission to reach out to the care home owner. So I did. And unfortunately, this was like the third time around where I had a complaint, multiple complaints on the care home owner. And I addressed it with her, and she just excused every single one of them. No, that's not true. No. Every single one of them was like not in the ballpark of reality. It didn't happen. And I had a hard time believing out of 20, you didn't mess up on 2 of those areas. I mean, you got them perfect on every area. I just had a hard time with that. And so, I had to use that in my 3-step qualification process of the community, right? Which is, oh my, can I say it, Brittany? I know we said it multiple times. All you gotta do is go back and watch videos. We look at state reviews, reputation of the community, and family intel. And that's really where I gauged the level of care and just the level of importance of the communities on my list. Is if I start getting all those family complaints, then that kind of adds up. Now, if the community, on the other hand, deals with it, they address it, they make changes, I love that, because no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. Communities are up one minute, down the next, right? New management group comes in, new executive director. God knows it's going to be new marketing director. So that community could change overnight. So based on someone's experience, they might say, well, shoot, I'm never going to go to that community. you might be forfeiting mom the perfect opportunity a year down the road because that community has completely changed in the right direction. Now, conversely, it can go in the other direction. But, another complaint I've had, I'll give this out and let you guys talk about it, is, John, it's probably never happened in your community. I hope not. But I'm sure it happens, and it probably happens more often than I realize, anyone realizes. But I had this one resident I did not place. I just heard about and I saw in state reviews, and it seemed like this one community about every 3 months had this particular complaint, and they would give a resident the wrong medication. And they did this one time with a certain resident for 30 straight days. And it's like the state was there every third month. It's almost like they should have just had an office there, right? Now, the good news is, over the years, probably about 3 years now, that community has completely changed. They don't have that issue anymore. They corrected it, right? So what about that? Anybody having issues with medication, giving the wrong medication, or just not giving medication? Anything like that? Brittany, Gail, John out there, you hear about that?
I was going to talk to the point about the state reviews.
Yeah.
There was a community that I wanted to recommend, and I started emailing the family. Then I'm like, I haven't checked on them lately. And then they had deficiencies. So I took that off of the list for the time being. And I got a hold of the new executive director, and he was very open to talking to me about the deficiencies, which was amazing.
Yeah.
However, I have a question. If you think, is this true? Because you can't force somebody for treatment, but this gentleman was having wound care after an amputation, wound care on his foot, and he was refusing care.
Wow.
So it ended up getting infected, and it ended up having to be amputated.
Yeah.
Now, the executive director said, you cannot force someone to have treatment.
Right.
I said, well, then why wouldn't you call 911 or just have him go to the hospital and have them deal with it? Because now it's a ding against it's written on, the deficiencies. So I don't know about that, but my point was, first of all, how he was so open to talk to me about it, and how they've made changes, and now they have 2 nurses on site, and it just changed my whole opinion. But
Absolutely.
I want to know if you've been through that, and what is that true, that if someone doesn't want to have wound care, they don't have to, even though it's clearly getting infected and swollen, and wouldn't you think they would send them to the hospital?
John, what do you think? Hit that one, John. You got a community.
Yeah, definitely they should have been sent to the hospital. It sounds like it, but you're right. You can't, people sometimes will deny their medicine or deny certain types of care. It does happen. But of course, if it's in danger, if they're putting themselves or anybody else in danger, it has to be reported and or sent to the hospital, which we've done before.
Yeah, Gail, I wonder if they self-reported. I would look, my state, you can self-report. So you can basically self-report yourself to the state. And I found that that's how they're kind of avoiding things like that. For example, like I have one lady, she refuses to shower, refuses constantly to shower, which is very typical of residents, but she is extreme, where there is no, getting her, there is no getting her without physically, dragging her essentially into the shower. So they can't do that. So they have self-reported. The family is aware of it. Everybody's on the same page, and it's fine. But when you look at their deficiencies, you can see that they have self-reported that is going on. So that's been kind of neat. I would look what I found the deficiencies too. I know you do this, but looking deeper than just, I've got one, it's like a fire, extinguisher. Yes, that's very important, but you start looking at all the little things. When I was just at this rehab, I placed here, and they're long-term care and rehab. So they're skilled. They're one that I am contracted with because Missouri's different. But anyway, I was here, and they were telling me how the state was just here last week. They had 0 deficiencies, but they're like, it depends on who comes here too. Like we could have, so it's just a lot of variables there. The fact they were open to talking to you though, I think that's really important. I have found the state reviews in my area since COVID, which everyone uses that excuse, they're not coming around like they used to. They have not caught up. They are so behind. They are so far behind. It's terrible. So I look at those, but that's actually now at this point, family feedback is like my number one, but that depends on your area. Like that is my number one. But like Matt mentioned, or how we all mentioned, people have totally different experiences. In my experience, I kind of I look at all the variables, what a lot of it, in my experience, it's again, they're going through this, they don't know what to expect. It's expectations. Like some families do believe, I just had this conversation yesterday, that they put their family and a loved one, they wipe their hands, and they shouldn't have to have one conversation with the community, and there should be no issues, right? And we know that's not the case. And I have started to explain, to kind of prepare these families, like, it's going to be a transition. It is going to take teamwork. This is a village. I kind of relate it to raising kids, right? This is a village to take care of your loved ones. These communities are doing their best, but it takes a lot. So I've kind of like prepped families now, because I get complaints every single day. Like, I know that sounds terrible, but I genuinely get complaints about communities. It could be food is usually not mine, unfortunately. It's more like care, medication, that my mom was sitting for 30 minutes, that, just things like that. I mean, I do get them daily, but I've been able to walk through them with almost every family and like have a care plan meeting, recommend that, things like that. So I would say they are the worst calls. This is our job, is to place them in the right community. I hate this part of the job. Not everything's butterflies and rainbows when you're getting calls about care. That's not fun. So, and it's tough. It puts us in a tough place. But that being said, usually it all is just a matter of communication, finding a solution, walking through it, looking at expectations, and for the most part, everyone gets figured out. But it is pretty sad.
Absolutely.
I mean, another one that I get all the time, a complaint, and I know we can probably all relate to this, that it's from the family almost always, that their loved one is not, like, let's just say, here's another example. They said, well, my mom said the caregivers come in and throw stuff all around their room. She hasn't ate today. She is really not participating. She's bored. But then their mom also has dementia. So it's like they are kind of coming to terms with where their loved ones are at, along with this transition at the same time. It's very eye-opening. If they were living at their home alone, they might not have known what they were doing. They might not have known that mom had so much cognitive decline. You put them in a community and you kind of see it, it's right in front of you. You see all this stuff. So I said, here's a tip. Go there. They're there right now. I said, go there, sit in the corner. Don't let mom see you, and watch everything she's doing, because I knew that was not the case. And I guarantee you I'll get an update today that none of that was true. So it's tough. That's a hard conversation to have with families, that I'm not saying your mom's fibbing or not telling the truth, but essentially she can't, her cognition is not there for her to do that. So that is probably actually my number one, that like they're hearing from their loved ones, and it looks like John can relate, all these things that are not correct, and they are believing them as they should and investigating it, but they take it that there's no foul in the information they got. So it's tough.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, Assisted Living Complaints, you guys, I really appreciate your time today and hopping on, and hope you guys got some value from this. I mean, Gail and John are two of our students. We got several hundred throughout the country, and it's just the joy of helping seniors and being truly an advocate for seniors, right? Whether some of the complaints we addressed today, and there's countless others that come up, man, you can be a liaison. You can be that person that's right in the middle to help the family, right? I think of communication. A lot of this happens because of lack of communication, and you could be that communication line, right? Maybe they can't reach the executive director. That person's extremely busy. They're trying to, operate and run a community. They're answerable to the management group. They're answerable to the investors, and they're always trying to train and help out the marketing directors and things like that. So communication might be hard. But you could be that communication line. So I would hope you guys would enjoy doing this. If you're a senior placement agent already within our community or without our community, just happen to stumble on this channel, man, do it the right way and be that person that stands up for the senior, right? But do it the right way. Again, get family permission, and then address it with the community with utmost respect. And you're looking to build that relationship and looking to improve that community as well. I think the communities I deal with around here, they really appreciate that. I know I would, if I was running and operating a community, which I don't, I would appreciate somebody addressing my blind side, right? Maybe there's some things I just don't see. I'm too close to the situation. And you got somebody like yourself, Gail and John and Brittany out there, and others that are, seeing it from 30,000 feet from above, right? And seeing it from a little different perspective. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, we're going to do every Wednesday, obviously, and then on Monday when Matt's not too busy. And then today we're actually going to do something. Who cares about this video? I'm saying this, but I thought I'd say it to you guys. My son's coming over. He's been working with us now since March. And we're actually taking this gimbal and that microphone over there and camera you don't see. And we're taking it to the streets today. We're actually going to be talking to some people out in the streets about assisted living, real life answers, just what they like. The first question is going to be this. When you hear these two words, assisted living, what comes to mind? Oh, I can't wait for some of those answers, man. There's going to be some good ones, and there's going to be some rough, tough stories. That is going to be videotaped today, and it will be on our YouTube channel on Thursdays. So every Thursday, you're going to be able to see that come up, and it'll probably be like a 10, 15-minute video of all these different things. So I hope some of this doesn't offend you guys, because we're going to keep it real. If they cuss, I can't allow too much of it. YouTube might, hurt me a little bit in the algorithm, but I'm just going to allow their expressions to be heard on this channel. So some are going to be really good, and some are going to be not so good. So we're going to find out, but that's going to happen tomorrow. So guys, thank you so much, John, Gail, and Brittany. Stay on for a little bit. You and I will just have a conversation about some different things in business. But I really appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
Are we good?